Here we go. Welcome, everyone, to the Champions. Now, here's your host, former Dallas Cowboys great Preston Pearson, number 26, along with co-host Cowboys superfan Nathan Ross. Here we go.
And here we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the next edition of The Champions. We got a good one for you today, so buckle up. Here we go. It is week 5 of the National Football League, and the Cowboys travel to the Burgh, Pittsburgh, to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Should be a good one. And we got a great guest for you. Let me go ahead and bring in my co-host right now, and we'll get after it real quick. Nathan Ross. Nathan, how are you, sir?
Man, Preston fired up. It's Pittsburgh Steeler week. We know how intense that rivalry is, and man, I'm just so fired up to be here and to get to talk to this, legendary, all-time great.
Real quick, you said the word rivalry. Is it
Yes.
still that kind of thing as it was back in the 70s?
Being raised in the 70s, there was nothing like the rivalry between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
I mean, it set such a foundation for just such amazing games, not only in the 70s because we played them in the Super Bowl, and there were so many similarities with our teams back then, legendary quarterbacks, Roger Staubach, and you had Terry Bradshaw on the other side. But also, we were so similar in other ways where our front defensive line.
Defense, right?
Yeah, our defensive units, especially on the defensive line, they were called the Steel Curtain. We were called Doomsday Defense 1 and 2. We had great wide receivers like they did. We had Drew Pearson and Tony Hill. They had Stallworth and Lynn Swann.
Right.
I mean, and we were playing for all the marbles in those days. I mean, we had 2 Super Bowls. They had 2, playing for that third. So I think, our rivalry is still that today because of what they did in the 70s, what Joe Greene did, what Randy White and all of our team and all the other players, what they did back then set what this means even coming up this Sunday night in Pittsburgh. The foundation they laid. Of course, there's still a rivalry, Preston, and I really do obviously want to beat the Steelers. Being a Cowboy fan, it's a huge game in Pittsburgh this Sunday night.
Well, let's go ahead and bring in a very special guest. I would say the leader, the big gun of the Steel Curtain from Pittsburgh.
You're not lying.
That would be, I'm going to introduce him by the name that I now know him as, and that would be Charles Edward Greene. Number 75, most people like to refer to him as Mean Joe Greene. We know better. Joe, welcome to the show. Welcome,
Joe.
The Champions.
Thank you, Preston. Thank you, Nathan.
Yes, sir.
All
Boy,
right,
what an honor. Wow.
Well, Joe's just one of those guys you can't forget for a lot of reasons when it comes to pro football. But he did some other things away from the field. I'm sure a lot of you remember the Coca-Cola commercial that Joe was starring in. I'll never
sure do.
forget it. And I always think of Joe first for that commercial than I do
Yes.
being a defensive tackle. Of course, it was a little bit different because Joe and the Steel Curtain and the rest of
Yes.
the Steelers kind of ruined 2 Super Bowls for me.
Yes, they did. And me too,
I'd
Preston.
have 4 or 5 Super Bowl win rings. I'm going to show you my rings as we get started here that I have from pro football, and I'm going to show you they call it now NFC championship rings rather than a Super Bowl loss. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. 'Cause it takes work to get to a Super Bowl, and if you win
does.
the NFC or AFC championship, you should get a ring for that, not for losing a Super Bowl. And Joe was responsible for a lot of that. Okay.
Hey, you start talking about those rings, and Charlotte just brought me some rings.
Oh, no. He's going to say those
They're in
beauties.
here. and I can
Oh,
show them to
wow.
you if you like.
Yeah. Well, don't go away with it. Let me see it.
Yes,
Let me see it
show.
one more time. Let me see it again.
Okay.
It's beautiful. I know that. Well,
Can you see? Did I up here?
Oh my
look at
goodness.
there.
Jeez,
Yeah,
that
buddy.
sparkles.
1, 2,
Beautiful. Yeah.
3, 5, and 6,
6. Yes, sir.
and there's
Yeah.
the one that you got, Preston.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
All
a
right.
good looking ring, gentlemen.
Well, here's the one I was involved in Pittsburgh. This was what 74, right, Joe?
74.
74. That was the
74th
first.
season.
Yes.
74th season. 75 Super Bowl.
Wow.
I think.
Yes, sir.
No,
Yes.
they were all played in December then, weren't they?
I believe
this
so.
this was in January. So it was 74th season, Super Bowl 10, and
13, I believe, is the other one that you guys
Yeah.
won over us. Okay.
Joe, how great was it getting that first ring, being there for 5 years? How great was it to finally get that what you wanted so badly, to get that first Super Bowl championship?
In the beginning, in Joe's first couple of years, the Steelers weren't that good. And then they started stockpiling a lot of great players like Joe, and he mentioned a few: Lynn Swann, L.C. Greenwood, Dwight White, Franco Harris.
Yes, sir.
On and on and on and on. And
Yes.
just became this juggernaut on both sides of the football. And
Yes,
so
sir.
Joe was the mainstay on that defense, a great defensive set of guys. So
Preston, you knew very well where we came from, and from your time when we played together in '71, it was terrible. Winning one game
yeah,
the first year, and I think 3 or 4 the second year, and it's like you said, Chuck started stockpiling players, not stockpiling, but drafting, and being fortunate with those draft choices,
Right.
and put together a pretty good football team.
pretty darn good
Yes,
football team.
Jeez, you sure did.
Well, let's start this way, if we would. Most people, like I said, remember you and your name, quote, as Mean Joe Greene. Your name, I believe, given name, is Edward Charles, or excuse me, Charles Edward Greene. Correct? Talk
Yes,
to us
sir.
about that a little bit. How did you become known only as Joe Greene, and who was that title named after?
Well, I was told by my mother that I got Joe as a nickname from my auntie at the time, and because I was a big boy, big baby, she said I had big legs and shoulders and
Yeah.
big thighs, and she said, "Oh, he looks like Joe Louis." And then everyone around, all the relatives started calling me Joe. She said, and I really wasn't aware of the Charles until I got to the first grade when we had to write our names, on that big piece of paper that had 3 lines on
Yep.
it. Yeah, that's when I knew I had
All right,
Charles.
Trey, let's go ahead and pull up that first shot that I had. There is the boxing
Joe
heavyweight champion of the world. That is Joe Louis, the man, the boxer. And
Wow.
you heard Joe talking about how he got the name as a, quote, lookalike to this man. and I included a
I can
young
see the
picture.
resemblance actually.
Well,
when they were younger,
I've got
yes.
a young picture of.
Wow, it does look like Joe.
Well, no, that's Joe Louis, the boxer.
Yeah, that's Joe, but it looks like a young Joe. Yeah.
Okay,
Hey.
so that is
Hey.
that is a young
Yep.
picture of Mean Joe Greene right there. So
Where'd you get that?
Preston's amazing at this.
a lot of work, a lot of research, long hours,
Yeah,
Joe.
I'm probably in 7th or 8th grade on that one, somewhere now.
Okay.
Wow, he looks almost like a sophomore or junior. Jeez.
Could be.
Like you said, he was pretty big at the time.
Yeah, he sure does look
So
it.
if you're looking at this, you be the judge. Does he look like Joe Louis? That's okay.
I see
Whatever.
a resemblance.
Whatever.
I do.
Okay. Okay.
No. You know, I always thought he was talking about his build, his shoulders and his arms, more so than facial.
Okay. Maybe so. Maybe we missed it. Anyway,
Uh-oh.
this is the man we're talking about. Mean
There's
Joe
that
Greene
4-3 stunt.
of
It's
the
that 4-3
Pittsburgh
See,
stunt
Steelers.
right
see
there.
those gloves?
Yeah.
Look at that left hand, the gloves.
Yes.
Yeah, I see it.
Hey,
Joe Louis,
Oh, yeah.
boxing gloves is what you're doing.
That's that head slap from Deacon Jones that you always loved.
Hey, that was a punch and an uppercut.
To the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, well, a few.
I saw. Yes, sir.
Well, you went to Temple High School. You also participated in other sports other than football, track and field, and I believe you were also involved in baseball. Were you not, Joe?
I was involved very, very little in baseball. I was going to be a pitcher.
A pitcher?
Yeah, the only time I ever pitched, I walked every box batter I faced, and the coach sent me right back to the dugout. That was it.
Could you hit?
Pitching for you.
Could you hit, Joe? Were you a pretty decent
Could
hitter
not
at that time?
hit. Hey, when the
Interesting.
ball came across the base, I was in the box over there in the
Gotcha.
right field side. I was running from it. Didn't like
Too
that.
close. Well, you did something right on the football field because
Sure did.
you somehow got a scholarship at UNT, University of
Right.
North Texas, right?
Mhm.
And you got that because you must have been pretty darn good. You decided to go there because of one other former Texan, Abner Haynes.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about UNT, the head coach up there, forgotten his name, Otis Mitchell. I
Otis
believe.
Mitchell.
Otis
Otis
Mitchell, and your time at UNT.
Well, at the time, when I was in senior in high school, I wrote a letter to 3 schools: University of North Texas, I think it was New Mexico State, and Texas A&I.
So they hadn't already tried to recruit you?
No.
No?
And the letter that I wrote to North Texas, that was spurred on because of what I saw in a yearbook or a North Texas catalog about Bob Hayes. And did I say no? Abner. I'm sorry.
Abner Haynes, yeah.
Yeah.
Abner. And when I went up there to North Texas, I was driven up there by the gentleman of the family that my mother worked for. Drove me up there to North Texas, and I went to the coach's office, and the coach's office was a long rectangular type room, and all the assistant coaches, 3 on each side, was 6, and then they had 2 down the middle, the offensive coordinator and the head coach. And one of these little schoolhouse, you see them, they got holes in the door, glass. I peeped through and saw them. That's how I knew. And I told the guy that took me there, got to go use the restroom. And I went to the restroom, came back, and while I was there, I did about 10 push-ups. That's about all I could manage. And I had a t-shirt, not a t-shirt, but a sweatshirt, cut off, and I had jeans on. And when I came back to the room, I knocked on the door again, and they said, "Come in." And when I walked in the door, being 6'3" and 230 pounds, I kind of filled up the door. And they said, "You want a scholarship? You got it." That was it.
You were
That was
pumping
it.
yourself up to look
I was
big, right?
Yes, I was. I don't know how.
Were you a defensive tackle the entire time in high school going into college, Joe? Was that
No.
your position? Did you do any other positions or?
Nathan, I came up. I played defensive tackle and left and right guard when I first started in the 9th grade. And
I bet
I
you're
got
good.
demoted. I got demoted from playing defensive tackle because I don't know. I probably just wasn't any good. And after my sophomore year, they moved me to linebacker, middle linebacker. And there I had a lot of fun.
I bet you did.
I couldn't cover anyone. All I knew how to drop to the hole, 5 or 6 yards.
Plug that hole. Wonderful.
Jump.
All right, Trey, can we pull up a couple of shots of Joe when he was at UNT? Let's take a look at the coach first. That is a coach, Otis Mitchell, who was responsible for Joe being at UNT. I'm assuming he was a good influence on you. That's a shot of Joe on the sideline.
I like that green there. I'd like to get a jersey like that color green.
That's the mean green right there. Okay, we'll get to the quote mean part of this equation here and find out from you how you got the name or nickname Mean Joe Greene, and the school now basically identifies itself as the Mean Green of North Texas. And it's all primarily because of you and what you did as a player there under Coach Mitchell.
Well, I'm gonna say this about the Mean thing. We were playing this football team, Texas. It's UTEP now, but at the time, they were the Texas Western Aggies.
Okay.
And they had my freshman year, the varsity played Texas Western, and Texas Western did them pretty poorly. They put 59 points on us, and we freshmen, there was about 3 of us. Chuck Beatty was one, and we all said, "Okay, let's get ready for these guys. When we get up to the varsity, we're going to beat them," because we knew that they were the first team on the schedule. And when we went out to play this group, we were playing pretty good. Pretty good. They had a guy named, you may have heard of him. His name was Sandy Stevens. Quarterback, very good. And we sacked him many times. So many times that they were recorded as having a 46-yard rushing, minus 46 yards rushing.
Oh boy.
And over the course of doing that, in the student section, they started calling us. They started shouting, "Go Mean Green, you look so good to me. Go Mean Green, you look so good to me." And that kind of caught on
Uh,
by that was the wife of our media.
okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Yes, Fred Graham, and I think her name was Sandy. She told him that she heard this chant in the stand. It was talking about Mean Green, you look so good to me. And she tried to share it with him, but he wasn't having it. But over the course of other ball games, home ball games, this quote started to happen again. Mean Green, go Mean Green. And they were really talking about the defense.
Yeah.
And pretty soon they started to, Graham started to write about it. And then it became the Mean
Mean
Green.
Green of North Texas.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And
There's a statue of you that's on the grounds up there in North Texas for starting the Mean Green of North Texas. Who else, other than Chuck Beatty, whom I know, having been on the Steelers, was on those teams that was so good under Coach Mitchell? Who else was on those teams?
well, let me see. Glenn Holloway. He had a couple of years with the Bears. Ronnie Shanklin,
Yes, Ron. Yeah,
outstanding wide receiver.
yeah. He was my stablemate with the Steelers. His number was 25. Mine was
25, yeah.
26. So I know Ronnie
Exactly.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. It was another guy you might know. Berkeley Harkless. You remember that name? Berkeley was another defensive lineman with me at North Texas,
Okay.
and he was pretty good. He was
Did he
pretty
go
good player.
pro?
He did, but as a linebacker, and that should have been his original position, but he didn't. He couldn't get up to speed at playing linebacker in the pros.
Okay.
But he's a
Okay.
heck of a football player. John Love,
John?
he had a few years with the Commanders.
Okay.
I think it is, isn't it? Don't they call them the Commanders?
Redskins? Yeah.
Yeah, the Redskins.
Washington Commanders
Yeah.
now, not Redskins. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you are correct. Okay. Okay. So you guys had a wonderful team, had a lot of success under Coach Mitchell. And then
Yeah.
it came to the draft. Now, before we get to the draft and your career with the Steelers and the Super Bowl games against the Cowboys, Joe, we have a segment here that's called Ask the Pro. And we have people who are watching or listening to this that write into Nathan and his website, and they ask you, in this case, a question. So if we can go to that, I'll let Nathan take over, and let's get our question in.
I hope I can answer it.
We'll see. I think you can handle it. Okay, we don't have sound from Nathan. Okay, we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. I'll go ahead and ask the question from here, Nathan. Check it out. See what we got going there. The question is from.
Be nice now. Be nice.
Oh,
Be nice.
you're fine. You're fine. I already know what it is. It's from Marietta, California. His name is Paul Riley. Paul, first of all, thank you for alerting us to the question and writing in, letting us know. Again, he's from Marietta, California. And his question is, who was the toughest offensive lineman you faced?
Well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say probably Larry Little.
Miami
The like
Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, yeah.
But another guy I have to put in that category. Uh, he played with the Cleveland Browns, and when I played against him was my first and second year, and he was in his 12th and 13th year. They were all done,
Oh, wow.
and he retired. Oh boy, and I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
Gene Hickerson.
Hickerson, yes, he played with
Gene
a very good friend of both of ours up there in
Is that
Cleveland.
right? Yep. Gene,
John Wooten
Gene was, yeah, Wooten.
was on that team.
Yeah, Wooten was on. I see him every second Thursday of the month.
Yeah. Well, great teams back there with Big Jim
Yeah.
Brown and that
Sure
whole
was.
coaching staff. Okay, Nathan, you are back. Did you have something you wanted to add to the question and whatnot?
No,
for
I'm
Joe?
so sorry. I don't. Yeah, no, I'm so sorry that the microphone acted up.
It
but
happens.
no, that
Not to worry.
yes, sir. No, it answered the question. And what a great football player that Joe was talking about. What a good offensive lineman.
Gene
Now,
Hickerson.
Joe, who was the best Dallas Cowboy offensive lineman that you went against? Who was the best in your opinion?
Oh boy! Before you asked that, I knew it. I knew his name. But
How
you know,
about-
when you get as old as me and Preston,
Yes.
You don't put me in that.
Now, I did hear you talk
let
before
me
about
tell
playing
you,
Blaine Nye.
I don't know his number, but it was name was Blaine Nye,
Nye.
N-Y-E.
Yes, sir.
Yep. You know, when you get old, that
Yeah.
you know how things float around you and you don't know what it is.
Yes, sir.
But as soon you got to grab it before it goes away again. That's what happened.
That's exactly what
Blaine
happens
Nye, number
when you get a little bit
66,
older. That's why I
66,
rely
64.
on Nathan.
Yep.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, sir.
So
But he was a good player. He was a
uh,
good player.
he was a guard, left guard
Yeah,
for the
right
Cowboys.
guard.
And how about
Was he
Rayfield
61?
Wright, who is no longer with us?
The big
did you
cat.
ever-
Big cat.
Yeah, Big Cat. Did you ever have to go up against Big Cat? Of course, he was a defense.
No, I didn't.
Excuse me, he was an
No.
offensive tackle on the
He
right
was
side.
an offensive tackle. LC had to deal with Big
Yeah,
Cat.
yeah.
The Big Cat tell you that great story that when he lined up against his first time playing against the Rams,
Yeah,
and Deacon Jones said to him,
yeah.
he said, "Boy, do your mama know you out here?"
And by the way, you mentioned the name Deacon Jones. He's
Yes.
one of your heroes, right? And
Yep.
that's why you wear the number 75,
75.
because
75,
Deacon
absolutely.
Jones wore 75. And Deacon Jones, I had to, unfortunately, had the opportunity to play against Deacon, and he was a menace. He could have been named Mean himself.
Yes, he could have. He
So-
could have. He could have.
So you had 75 all through your high school, college, and pro career, correct?
Yes, I have. Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
Were you a Ram fan growing up, Joe? Were you
Deacon
a Ram
Jones.
fan, or who was your favorite team? Being from Texas, did you have a favorite
Dallas
team? growing up?
Cowboys, sir. Dallas Cowboys.
Wow, that is
So
awesome.
you knew that.
That'll,
No,
do
I
that
didn't
and
know that,
that'll
but
make
I'm
his
so
day
fired
right
up.
there.
Bob Lilly was the guy that I said I want to play defensive tackle like Bob Lilly.
Oh, wow.
Bob
Wow.
Lilly was.
We've had
was-
both of these amazing players on our show
Right,
too. Two
right.
of the best players ever at their position on our show. That's awesome.
Not too many people can
God
claim
bless.
that, that's for sure.
No,
okay.
that's for sure.
Okay. In the pros, after the first maybe 1 or 2 years, the Steelers collect a gaggle of guys that are in the Hall of Fame, players that probably should be in their, we call it here in Dallas, their Ring of Honor in the stadium, if not in the Hall of Fame. But talk to us a little bit about the Steel Curtain and your classmates that made that unit such a great defensive group of guys. Can you talk to us a little bit about those guys, each one individually? Start with
Yes,
Fats.
sir.
Fats Holmes, your tackle mate. Start with him.
Well, Fats Holmes, number 63. I mean, he could win any battle. He could win any battle. He was strong. He was quick. He played with great leverage, and he had an attitude, real good attitude about defeating the guy over him. I'll tell you a story if you got a couple of minutes here
We got a couple.
You bet. You bet.
about Ernie Holmes. Now, we were getting ready to play in the AFC Championship game against the Raiders, and we were going to travel out there. And LC, number 68 there, as we were preparing for the game, he said, Ernie, Upshaw gonna kick your butt. That ain't what he said, but something like that. And,
Maybe a little
Oh, he's
stronger,
getting him fired
right?
up. Oh, he's getting him fired up. That's what he's doing.
and then Dwight would say, yeah, Fats, you gonna get your tail whipped. This was the first day of practice. Second day of practice, they kept saying the same thing. Same thing. And Ernie would look at him, put his head down, and walk away. Never said a word. Never said a word. Come game day, the Raiders kicked the ball off. We kicked the ball off to them. They get the ball on that 30-yard line or somewhere in there. And we line it up just like we're lining up there with the ball at the line of scrimmage. And Ernie walks probably about 2 feet on the other side of the ball towards the Raiders. They were in their huddle trying to get their play. And Ernie says, Gene. Nobody looked around. Eugene Upshaw. And finally, Upshaw turned around. And Ernie pointed his finger. I'm going to kick you.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Oh, straight up.
LC said, wow, fast far out. and Dwight says, you tell him, Ernie. And we had a defensive back, Mike Wagner. He was in the huddle too. And he's put his hands up. Oh, Ernie, why you do that?
Well,
But when the game started, Ernie did exactly what he said he was going to do.
he did.
He did, huh?
Yes,
Well,
he did. Yes, he did.
There
There he is.
Ernie.
That arrow.
Did you
20
cut his? Did you cut his hair, Mean Joe? I mean, I saw you once with a clipper over his head, like on a show. Did you cut his hair sometimes?
No way. Ernie wouldn't let me do that. He wouldn't let me do that.
Joe, you should know that Nathan is a barber. He has a barber
Yes.
shop full
Yeah.
of photographs, and he
Yes.
also has a website that's full of photographs. And
I have a picture, or I have a framed jersey of the Steel Curtain in my barbershop, signed by all four of them, authenticated.
You do?
Yes, I do, sir. I sure do. To
on your
represent-
screen right now is one of them, and probably next to Joe, probably the best pass rusher on the Steel Curtain, and that would be L.C. Greenwood.
LC, wow.
Hollywood.
Good player.
240 pounds.
Yeah.
Could run 4.5.
Yeah.
He had long arms.
4.5?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry.
God.
Not 4.5. I wanted to say 4.7, something like that. 4.7.
Well, still, I mean, that is a fast lineman at 4.7.
Yeah.
Joe, that's impressive. What a player.
He was awfully good.
Yeah.
Then you got
That's
the
what-
little
that's-
killer from Texas. It's
From
Dwight
Texas,
White.
yeah.
Dwight
Yeah.
White. Oh,
He talked a lot. I heard Preston or Joe say that he was kind of the goofy, kind of make people laugh guy.
Oh yeah. Well, during the game, he talked a lot. We weren't trying to laugh. Them say, "Shut up, Dwight. Shut up." He talked to everybody. Argued with them. He argued with every offensive lineman
Ooh,
that he
that's a
faced.
big man to argue with too. Doggone it.
Well, there
There's
on your
Chuck.
screen, right there, is the guy who brought you guys together on the Steelers
Yep.
team. By the way, for everybody out there, Chuck Noll came to the Steelers from the Baltimore Colts. When he was
Yes.
with the Baltimore Colts, he was my position coach as a defensive backfield coach when I was in Baltimore. He left Baltimore in, 68, 69.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after that, in 1970, Chuck Noll traded a very good linebacker from the Steelers, Ray May,
Amen.
to Baltimore for me and another defensive back by the name of O.C. Austin. And so
O.C.
that's how
Right.
I got from the Baltimore Colts to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was from Chuck Noll, who became Joe Greene's head coach and my
Yep.
head coach. So Joe and I have a
How about
lot of
that?
things in common here in
Yep.
terms of pro football in general. Just wanted to
You
tell
know-
that story real quick, guys.
Amongst
Yes.
a lot of the things that Chuck did, the thing that I remember really most, I repeated quite a bit. Rise to the occasion. And to me, for me, wherever you are, if you're competing, if you're competing against a guy that can't play, or you're playing against the best football player you ever saw in the team, doesn't matter. Rise to the occasion.
Yes, sir.
And that's something that
Yes, sir.
resonated with our football team. I mean, he was always saying things similar to that.
Yep, yeah.
Rise to the occasion. We were getting ready to play the Houston Oilers the second time. The first time was at Pittsburgh, and they left the playbook and scouting report in the locker room.
Oh no.
And the attendants in the locker room brought it to us. And Chuck looked at it, looked at the playbook and the scouting report, and he said, we were in a meeting, he said, team, he told us what it was, see it? Dropped it in the trash.
Ah,
We're not worried about what they're doing. We're going to do what we need to do.
Awesome.
Play our scouting report. Yep. That was it.
Well, he's a Hall of Fame coach for a reason. You know, even though he wasn't on my team, even everybody has to respect Chuck Noll. What an amazing coach, legendary coach. And Preston, I mean, with the times with him, I mean, did Joe know about you being the union rep and all the situation, you know, between Chuck and you and that situation
Well, I'm
and
not-
how it went down?
I'm not sure who knew what, although I'm sure the team knew that I was the assistant player rep. Andy
Right.
Russell was the designated player rep. However, when the strike started, Andy Russell resigned, and therefore everything was put on me to represent the team in the initial player strike. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
taking this a little bit further, when I initially came to the Cowboys, sent away from the Steelers, Joe, you probably don't even know this, but being a representative, I had the chance to further integrate myself into the Rooney family. And you and I believe, Joe, agree that the Rooney family, in terms of ownership, is one of the best you could ever be with. I mean, from Art Rooney Sr. on down, Dan, Art Rooney Jr., all of those owners were very good people and great owners, right?
Yeah.
I think you would agree with that.
Yes, I do.
Chuck wasn't so agreeable with my position as the player representative. We had an occasion where I had to go meet with him, and unfortunately, Chuck reared back in his chair when I went down to his office, which was, down underneath the stadium itself. He reared back in his chair, put his hands behind his head as I sat down with my knees shaking and wishing I wasn't there. Chuck said to me, he said, "So what are you doing with my team?" And I started shaking even further. I was like this, Joe. My knees were clattering. I don't know if anybody saw what was going on, but I was shaking all over. It was like an earthquake was going on inside my body. From that point forward, Joe, I was gone. I was released from the team not too long after that. Now, talking about the Rooney family, I've got 2 letters that I would like to show you guys. These are things that I saved. I saved these things from the time that I was released. One of them came from Timothy Rooney. What you're seeing here on the left is the official release letter from the league. The letter on the right is from Art Rooney Jr. And I'm going to read because you can't really see that.
Please do, Preston.
I believe that is, Trey, can you pump that up just a tiny bit more? Maybe they can get a whiff of what I'm about to read here. Like I said, on the left in the blue, that is the official release from the league.
There we go.
Okay? And that one on the left says something to this effect. You are hereby notified that effective immediately, your contract for the year 1975 with the undersigned has been terminated in accordance with the provisions of such contract, the Pittsburgh Steelers Club, and it's signed by Timothy Rooney. As the player gets a copy of that.
Yep.
On the right is the Art Rooney personal note to me. And it reads, "Just a note to thank you for the fine help you gave the Steelers. It took us 4 years to win the championship, and you were a big part of it. Best
Good
of
job,
luck
Preston.
in the future. Sincerely," and it's signed by Art Rooney Jr.
Wow.
There is another one I'd like to read to you guys that really, really made my knees buckle a little bit further. This one
Fantastic.
is from Dan Rooney. Joe, and you know him best as the one who primarily ran the team. On the left, the letter reads, Pittsburgh Steelers, 300 Stadium Circle, Pittsburgh, PA, 15212, September 19th, 1975. It reads,
Wow.
"Dear Preston, just a note to wish you well and to say your time with the Steelers was a credit to you as a football player and a man."
Wow.
That one really got me right there.
Yeah,
And
wow.
It continues. "You always conducted yourself as a gentleman, especially when you were the player rep during a strike. I would have to say that no one could have done a better job for the players he was representing and yet keep the game of football at the respected level it has been
Impressive.
held by the fans.
Wow.
I hope you will be able to continue your football career, but when you are finished as a player, I am sure whatever your endeavor will be, that it will be successful. Regards, and it's signed by Daniel M. Rooney.
M. Rudy.
Wow, Preston, what a
Yes.
letter.
And I
Special
got those
guy.
Were
letters.
you-
I have
Preston,
those
were
letters.
you surprised? Now, when you got these letters, Preston, were you
yeah.
expecting them, or did you just get them and you got shocked? Like, what? I'm being released, or
Well, I was
did you
already
know it was coming?
No, I was already released. I was at home,
Gotcha.
and then a day or two later, I got the letters
Gotcha.
of termination and the letter from Dan Rooney. Now, again, I'm not sure how many players get that kind of personal note from an owner. I'm not sure if any owner today would do that.
Right.
But I'm telling you, that's why I kept each one of those pieces of paper, and I have them. Those are official letters that I kept for my own personal files.
And from legendary owner. I mean, owners that really have only had 3 head coaches in the history. You know, I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm not I'm not a Steeler fan. But to say I don't respect the Rooneys, I'd be lying. I mean, the way that they conduct their business, I have total respect for. And I think a lot of, like when I went to a Dallas Cowboy game in that 2012, all the fans, it was at Dallas, and it was a game we ended up winning. But all of us fans, the Steelers and Cowboys alike, we weren't arguing. Like most times if we go Cowboys Redskins, which I've been to, and other games, there's this tension and anger. When the Cowboys and Steelers got together, our fan base, we literally just intertwined with so much respect. It's hard to explain it. Me and my cousin Mark, who went to the game, were talking about it last night or a couple nights ago. It was unbelievable how well us fan bases got together, even though we were so tense. We just have such a respect for each other. And
Well, that's
to
the way
have
it
only
should
3
be.
coaches. Yes, and it's not like that. I go to a lot of games. There's tension, there's this and that, but I think there's something about the Steelers. I mean, and we had old people we were talking about. They had the jerseys on of Joe and Franco. They were 70 years old getting off the plane, and they, holding hands. There was just something special about Steeler fans. They were very respectful, and we respected them.
The whole
There's a lot of
scenario.
them.
Yes.
Yes, there is. There was so many yellow, the terrible towels. We were like we were saying. Me and my cousin Mark were just talking. There were so many towels that day. I was shocked. I mean, I was shocked.
We lost you again there, Nathan. I'm sorry. We've lost his sound
Listen.
again. We'll get it back. Go ahead, Joe.
You bet.
You
There
I
you go.
don't, I don't know if you know this or not, but when Dan was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
he asked me if I would be his presenter.
Oh, really? Oh, great
Yeah,
was
man.
that? Yeah.
Man, I
That's
I
impressive.
started to cry, and then I got, and then I got scared. I said, what can I do? What can I say? And
Yeah.
then
Oh,
I
that's
got,
great.
but I was happy too.
Well,
Just
that shows the respect
delighted.
he had for you too, though, Joe. I mean,
Yes.
not many owners will ask another player to be his presenter at the Hall of Fame induction. So
That's unbelievable. Awesome.
What I read into it was just the quality of the man.
there you go. Yeah.
That's what I read into it. The quality of the
That's
man.
what I said in that letter when he said to the man. That was most important to me. Anyway, the whole scenario, Chuck releasing me, being able to entertain other teams. I got calls from San Diego Chargers, from the Green Bay Packers, and from the Dallas Cowboys. Gil Brandt. In fact, the Cowboys called first, and that is the main reason why I decided to take a trip down to Dallas, because they called first. Had nothing.
Thank
to
God
do
you
with,
did.
Well, yeah, it was. The move was negative, and I cried. I was pissed. All of that stuff that goes into when you get released. But you know
Course.
what? It was perhaps for me, not necessarily for the Steelers or for the Cowboys, but for me, it was the best thing that happened to me in pro football, because I had a chance to come to Dallas. Now, I was replaced in Pittsburgh by a guy that went to the Hall of Fame, Franco Harris.
That's
okay.
right. It was St. Joe.
But also, when I eventually got a job for a couple of years in Dallas, I was replaced again by a Hall of Famer, Tony Dorsett.
Tony Dorsett.
Right.
So I'm connected with a lot of Hall of Fame guys who either propelled my career and or ended my career in certain kinds of ways. But again,
Hey,
for me,
they couldn't get you out of there unless they had a Hall of Famer to replace you.
And he still made huge plays for us, Joe. I mean, he was Mr.
Yeah.
Third Down. I mean, they knew it was coming. There was no stopping on third down from
was
that
good.
shot.
They knew he could catch the football. They knew he could run in
Yes.
Pittsburgh. They knew
Well, no
all of that.
linebacker could stay with him. No linebacker
But they
could keep
didn't.
up with him.
well, I love
Yes.
seeing linebackers. Linebackers were, come on over here. It was tougher against a DB or a safety or somebody like that. Now, there were a couple of guys. Thomas Henderson was as good as any of them. Jack Ham was really good at it.
Yeah, he was.
Some guys throughout the league were pretty good, but I always
Thomas was
welcome
awesome.
linebackers to try to cover me one-on-one.
Yeah,
He was the
Thomas
first
very good.
56 right there. Yes, he was. The first 56.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was, and Lawrence Taylor can say what he wants, but he was the first of the 56 guy linebackers that came in the league. Okay, let's quickly go to, I'm in Dallas. The Steelers are becoming the juggernaut that they are offensively and defensively. Somehow we, the Cowboys, in '75, get to the Super Bowl after beating the Vikings. And for me, that was
a great game you had.
But a great
You
game
darn right.
against the Rams was even better, having scored
Three touchdowns, Joe, he had.
to get into that game.
That great
You
catch.
had a great crew of rookies that year.
The
take
Dirty
your
Dozen,
kid.
I like to call them the Baker's Dozen. Now,
Yeah.
Them boys.
that is a photo of I think the second of the Doomsday
Yep.
two
Yeah, that's
78
Doomsday
and
two.
guys.
Harvey Martin, Randy White, Bob Brunig, John Dudden, and Ed Too Tall Jones.
Well, Jethro Pugh would have been amongst the first in
Yes.
John Dutton's position. So
Right.
that's why I
Correct.
say that was the second of those guys.
Yes,
and
sir.
Let me point this out real quick, too. Jethro is no longer with us. He passed away some years ago. And also a couple of guys that Joe played with are no longer with us. Dwight White, Elsie
Yes.
Greenwood, and Fats Ernie Holmes.
And
is no
Franco
longer with
Harris
us.
just recently. Franco
Well,
also.
I was just
Oh,
referring to the steel curtain
The
guys.
line. Yes, sir. Sorry
but
about that,
you're right
Preston.
about that. There are others. Ron Shanklin's no longer with us from the Steelers, who was my stalemate at that time. But we won't get into that. I just
Right.
wanted to mention that real quickly about.
Look at that
Jethro.
75 Jethro Pugh. He
There
looks
you
good
go.
in that 75 like Joe.
But this was our doomsday defense going up
Yes.
against the steel curtain defense. And so a lot of similarities. Randy White, obviously,
That sure was.
one of those
What
guys
the
from
Manster.
doomsday thing, and had that nickname like Mean Joe Greene. Well, we had the
Yep.
Manster, half man, half monster. We had the beautiful Harvey Martin. We had Too Tall
Yes.
Jones.
God, I love Harvey Martin.
Out there with us. So a lot of nicknames, a lot of similarities between the
Wow.
Steel Curtain, the Dallas Cowboys,
For sure.
with their doomsday defense. And if you look
Yes.
at those teams together and you try to compare a lot of different things, man, there's a lot of things that they had in common. Joe spoke about
So much.
the early years. Well, think about the
Yes.
Cowboys' early years. They couldn't win a thing in Tom Landry's early years. They couldn't
Yeah.
get
That's
over
true.
1 year, without losing
Yep. Yep.
everything or all things that was consistent. So again, if you look at the Steelers and the Cowboys, many things are quite similar.
They are.
History, players,
They are.
coaches, a lot of things are similar there. Okay, let's get back to the Super Bowl. Steelers win that game. Okay. Joe, you showed your ring. This is the one. This is the conference ring. Let me see here. Okay. This one is the ring for that year. The conference ring. Yeah.
That's nice, Preston.
If I can
I like
show
that star. That looks nice.
That's beautiful. And just think if
yes, it is.
Back in the day, they used to allow women to get the top of the ring turned into a necklace. And just think, if you had something hanging
That's a nice pendant.
from that, that's a nice pendant that women could
You're
get.
not kidding.
And the Cowboys would also give out rings or pendants like that to basically the team, the training guys, and certain people in the organization's staff. So a choice of a ring for those staff people or training or helpers, whatever. If you were in line, you might have chosen a ring or a pendant if you're a woman. Okay.
Right.
This is the other ring that Joe and the Steelers and the Steel Curtain beat us out of. That's another beautiful top ring. It's a conference.
That
ring.
is.
It's not a Super Bowl loss. It's a conference championship ring. If you can see that, look at that.
That is
How
nice.
beautiful is that? That's 5
Bling,
Super
bling.
Bowl rings that it's showing there on the top.
Wow.
And again, it's a conference championship ring, not a Super Bowl loss. Joe, I don't know about you,
Nice.
but I don't wear my rings that much. I used
No,
to.
me either. Let me show you this. If you can see this.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, big one, too.
Look at that. Is that a Rolex?
That is, no.
That's
Looks
a,
But
like
what
one.
it is, it says it's the Steelers 6 times AFC championships.
okay.
Wow, Joe, that is stunning.
Well, it actually says 8 because it doesn't. 6 of those years we won the championship, but we lost 2.
Yeah.
2 championships.
Oh, the
to
Raiders
Dallas.
that one time.
Yeah.
No, we lost the
Oh, yeah.
championship Super Bowl to the Cowboys
Yeah,
and won to.
Packers. I'm sorry. I thought you were
the Pack-
talking about the AFC Championship game.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm going to show you this
So they
real
couldn't-
quick because
They couldn't give you that. They didn't give us the conference championship ring. This watch
this
represents
this
the
Joe
conference
goes back
championship.
way before your time. This is a watch that members of the Baltimore Colts received.
Wow,
my.
Preston.
This is in
Jeez.
Super Bowl III.
Man.
Super Bowl 3.
Wow,
And
that Joe Namath.
I was in that game 68. If you can kind of see that. They didn't give
That
you
is a-
rings if you lost back then. They gave you this.
Look at that, Joe.
They also
That
gave
is
me a
neat,
plaque.
Preston.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all my rings. One of these rings is a golf, Joe. You love playing golf. I know that. At least you did. But this is an NFL alumni Super Bowl of golf championship ring right here.
Oh my!
Were you
I
that
never
good,
got
Preston?
that close.
Jeez. Wow,
Hey.
Preston.
This one,
Golly, that's outstanding.
I'm going to share this one because it's beautiful. This is a high school ring. This is my high school Hall of Fame basketball championship ring.
Ooh.
That is pretty too.
Beautiful
Jeez.
ring, man.
That
So
is.
anyway,
a beautiful ring.
I've got my collection of Hall of Fame. I'll call it a Hall of Fame. It's not NFL, but believe me, it's dear to my heart when they say that I'm
Absolutely.
in the Hall of Fame.
Yes,
in
sir.
Anything. My ring collection, along with my watch from Super Bowl III. A lot of people look at me and they go, "You were in Super Bowl III?" Well, that was in 1968.
That's what Everson Waltz said on the show. I remember when Everson said that.
Yeah,
He goes,
and,
"You were in
and
there."
they always say, "How old are you?"
You don't. Well, you look young, bud. I'm gonna tell you that, bud. You look young. What did Tony Casillas said? Tony really did say that. He said he couldn't believe how how young you look too.
Okay.
You look great too. And so does Joe.
Okay, quickly, we have to get to that area. I don't know. Did we show the Doomsday guys, Harvey Martin and John Dutton? Yeah,
Yes.
Did
Yes.
we show?
And Randy White.
Okay, how about Super Bowl 13? You guys beat us in a very well played game. We were a little bit better at that time because we didn't have 13 very, very young whippersnappers on the team. We were a little bit more veteran, but you guys still beat us in that game. One of the plays in that game that, in my opinion, hurt us tremendously, and I hate to throw, quote, blame at anybody, but if he had made the catch on a pass in the end zone, Jackie Smith would have put us in a great position to win Super Bowl 13. And that was his reaction after he dropped that ball.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look at him.
Jackie didn't drop it. He wasn't known for dropping passes.
He was not known for dropping passes. And you can see the frustration in his own body. How stiff can you get?
And Preston, we would have been 21 to yes. We would have been 21-21 though, so that would have tied the game up too. But I did hear Joe Greene talk one time where he said that he was surprised we stopped going to Tony Dorsett. Tony Dorsett that first half was running the rock really well, and he said that he was very glad that we went away from it. And then they got that little razzle-dazzle when they tried to do that reverse, and then we fumbled it when Drew Pearson dropped it. Yeah, it was that reverse, and we were moving the ball. I thought we got a little cute there because we were really, I'm not going to say overpowering. You don't say overpower Steelers, but we were moving the ball with Tony very well. And I think Joe will agree with me on that, where he said that we kind of went away from giving the ball to Tony Dorsett in that football game.
Perhaps so. Perhaps so.
Yes.
Looking back on it.
I was happy that they did. I said that on the sideline.
Did you?
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Tony was doing a good job. Offensive line was blocking well, and he was running well. They got around the 50-yard line, and for whatever reason, they tried that reverse and fumbled the ball, and we recovered. I don't know if we got any points out of it, but
that momentum, there was momentum switch. You sure did.
A momentum killer right there. Okay, guys, we got to move quickly here. Joe, I want to get to you. Once you retired, you still went into coaching. You coached 3 different teams over a period of 13, 14 years? You were an assistant coach? I'm
from
sorry?
87 until 2003. 18 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I asked this question to our last guest who had the same kind of great record, coaching record, stable guy, enthusiastic, smart. Why weren't you offered the job of head coach in Pittsburgh or somewhere else?
Well, I think that I was not offered the job in Pittsburgh because at that point in time, that was the first head coaching job I interviewed for, and the only. And I think it was because I was a defensive line coach, and I didn't have all the knowledge that you would have if I was defensive coordinator or if I was a linebacker coach or a secondary coach. Because of my knowledge of the entire defense was limited because I was just a defensive line coach, even though I knew enough about the linebackers and the secondary, what they do in the run game, but I would be at a handicap trying to get them into the pass coverage.
Isn't that why you hire a linebacker coach or a
exactly
DB
true,
coach?
Preston?
If you have 18 years of experience and knowledge of how to handle players, okay, it's not
Yes.
about
Yes.
handling your staff. It's about how you can handle players in snap situations.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
how did how do you do that? That's my opinion about why you would hire someone as head coach, offensive coordinator, or defensive coordinator. The top guys you got to have. Then you go out and you hire staff.
Correct.
You could have hired somebody who knew how to handle linebackers and help
Yeah.
teach you how to handle linebackers or how to handle
Right.
linemen or all of that. You, in my opinion, should have been offered by the Steelers a head coach position after all what you
It's hard.
brought to them and what you helped them gain.
Right.
Well, I appreciate that, and my wife thought that too. But when the dust settled and Dan came to me and he said, "Joe, we're not going to offer you the head coaching position. We're going to go someplace else." I respected Dan's decision.
Of course, sure.
I did. I really did. It was whatever anxieties and angst that I was having about not being the coach went away when Dan told me that, and it was no animosity at all, none. I thought Dan told me the truth, and I let it go.
Okay, so now you've been out, I'm not sure how many years. Any regrets about not continuing to coach or seek that head coaching job? If somebody came to you right now, Joe, and said, "I want you to coach," would you go back?
Oh no, oh no.
You're done.
I've in the end, what I learned in Pittsburgh from a player standpoint, mostly 13 years, and then 5 other years of coaching with the Steelers. The information that I got in Pittsburgh was so much in line with, I guess because I was there, but how you're supposed to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of missed it in Miami, and I certainly missed it in Arizona. So in the
What was it?
end,
What was it, Joe? What separates what the Steelers offer from Miami or the Cardinals? What is it? Is it culture? That's what I've heard.
yeah, but that's you develop that over time, and sometimes it's there. But excuse me,
Yeah.
um, Chuck and the way he did it was, well, if you got to get from point A to point B, the information that you get tells you how to get to point A to point B. Other places that I've been,
Yes.
you just got to get there.
Sorry,
Got
guys.
to get there, and you do it reps after reps after reps, but it's not how you get there. And Chuck was, as you know, Preston, he was a technique guy.
Yeah.
That's what he talked about oftentimes,
All
the
the time.
technique.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're having a problem in the individual play, check your technique. How's your technique doing? How's it holding up? You have a place to go to when things are not going well. But if you just trying to figure out how to get to from A to B or to A to Z, anybody tell you how to do that? They just say go do it. And the techniques I watch offensive linemen because those are the people I watched when I was playing defense. and you can watch TV, I can watch film, and see offensive linemen that they take the wrong step, they false step, they back up when they should have been
Mm-hmm.
going forward. They grab you
Right.
instead of driving the body into you. So it's changed a lot. You see, Preston, I don't know how the corners cover. You know, I learned from Mel. Mel always told me, he said, you interrupt the route. You got to get your hands on them. They're letting these guys run free.
You talk about Mel
They're
Blunt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He changed the game.
Yeah.
He literally changed the game
Yeah, he was
with
best.
his strength, holding those wide receivers. He
Yeah.
didn't let them
You still
go
got to
once his
get your
hands was
hands
on
on
him.
them. You can't let them run free. And
Yes.
today, why the tight ends are becoming so prevalent?
Mm-hmm.
Down the middle of the field. Nobody's
Yeah.
covering.
Yep.
You're
Up
not-
that seam. Yes,
not
sir.
holding them up. Yeah.
And they can't hit them.
Sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, defenseless receiver. Joe, real quick. I mean, the game has changed so much from the 70s until now. Do you like all the rule changes, or do you think football was better in the day when you played it?
I think it's very important to deal with the injuries and the unwarranted hits. And a lot of
Gotcha.
those hits come from the mindset of guys that play the game of trying to be tough.
Yes, sir.
Hey, if you're trying to be tough, you ain't real. You're faking it, in my view.
Wow.
You play the
I'm
game.
gonna remember that.
What is that?
Wow.
But
I love
it's-
that. Yes.
But it's a matter of how you're being coached. And for
Yes.
instance,
All
head to
right.
head is very difficult.
Yeah.
You try to defenders, you're trying to get your head out of the way,
Yeah.
but the guy you're dealing with is bringing his head.
Yes,
You get a
sir.
head-to-head collision.
Yes, sir.
All
You
right.
hit an offensive, you hit the quarterback
Sounds like you got some company coming.
with the shoulder
That's
pad,
awesome. I got dogs too. I love dogs.
Me too. I have them
and
too.
I have two.
how do you hold up a guy if you're hitting him with force and he's going on his back? Do you roll over and fall on the ground, or do you fall on top of him?
That's what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even when you hit the
Yeah,
quarterback, now
as
you
loud
have
as
to
you
look,
can,
fall to the
please.
side.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Game's
that
not
part.
played that way, is it, Joe? No excuse me
No.
stuff. Okay, we got to go. We're running out of time here. I got to ask you this, Joe. You were talking about age and as you get older and memory, and we've talked about my injuries and where I am with my hips and all this and that. How are you doing? How are you doing right now with your health and injury status and 14, 15 years of pro football?
Hey, my body is showing the age and pretty much, I don't know. I don't want to say it's football because I see people around that's my age that didn't play football that
They're
maybe
worse.
it looks worse than me. Yeah.
No,
I
you
hear
look
you.
great, Joe.
Yeah,
You
you're
look
looking
great.
good, man. You're looking good.
Yes, sir.
You haven't had any. Are you still playing golf?
Preston, when I had my first hip operation, I was saying thank you because I don't have to play golf anymore.
Was he good,
driving me
Preston?
crazy.
Was
Yes.
Joe good?
Joe
I
was
mean,
Joe
he
was
like in the
playing
70s,
golf
80s?
when we were in training camp. He would
Yep.
sneak out
Sure
or on off days he would go and play golf. It is very addictive. Now
Yes, it is.
I'm still trying to play, Joe. I'm still trying to improve because you know what? I can't play football, can't play basketball, pickleball. I don't want to play. I can't play tennis. So I've got to do something that gets me active.
Yeah.
Gets the
Understand.
brain going,
Yes,
keeps
sir.
you in the flow of being young or younger. I know I'm not old, but I am older.
No.
So, so
No, you're great.
I know
trying
that
to-
you can pick up a basketball and go out there and shoot some hoops with yourself.
I can
I
do
know
that.
you've done
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
I want to
can
play
do
golf
that.
with him
So
one day.
this man loves basketball.
Yes, yes, that's a beautiful sport. I'm telling you, some of the greatest athletes in the world play pro basketball.
Yes.
Love the game. Okay,
Yes.
we got to go. Joe, it's been wonderful.
Gosh.
I really appreciate you taking some time to join us. You
Thank
and
you,
Bob
Joe.
Lilly, two of the greatest defensive tackles the game has ever seen. And guess what?
Ever.
I don't
Of all
believe
time.
anybody, any podcast for sure, has had the two greatest defensive tackles in pro football on their program. We had
Facts. That's a
we had you
fact.
both right here, and we
Yes.
really appreciate it. Really appreciate
Very
it.
special.
Thank you so
When you
much.
say that, what happens to a guy that is in the 12th grade, 11th grade playing defensive tackle and saying, that's the guy I want to play like? That
What
guy,
happened?
and you pick your name with his name. Thank you.
All right. All right. We have to get out of here, and I do want to thank our Ask a Pro guy. What's his name again? Paul
Yes.
Riley.
Paul Riley, yes, from
Marietta,
Marietta, California.
Thank you, my friend.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll continue to watch and listen to us. Special thanks, obviously, to Joe Greene and Nathan. Of course, you know you're my man. You know that.
Thank you
Thanks
so
to
much,
our
Preston.
Production guy over here, Trey Giles. Trey, appreciate you.
Thank
brother.
you, Trey.
Thank you again. To the production studio, RNPR, Real News Public Relations. And want you guys to make sure you check us out later on as we're on the major platforms that are out there. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, X. You can also catch us audio-wise on TikTok, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts.
Wow, it's a bunch.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. Till the next
Yes.
time, Nathan,
Here we go. Yeah, here we go.